Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you are new and here for the first time, thank you for checking us out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button below, like the video, check us out on social media. Also, we're over on Facebook, Instagram, we've got a Patreon account, and some merchandise over on Teespring. If you are returning, thank you for the continued support. Today, we're working on part 3 of our Ford Fiesta rebuild and getting into some of the mechanical stuff for it. We are still waiting on our shift linkage, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the cover for the gearbox here. And right here we've got our gearbox cover. You can see it was folded over a bit, so we're going to go ahead and take this off and see if we can bend this back in shape where it should be flat. And if not, we'll just go ahead and replace it, but we'll see what we can do with the original part first. These are a bunch of 8mm sockets or bolts that come out, so we'll go ahead and knock those out and see where we sit. Oh, there we go. Guess it's already kind of broke anyway, so. Look at that. Inside of this thing is spotless. Just this, it's like an RTV seal. Okay, I'm impressed with that. I'm okay with that. Got some doohickeys sludge down here. But everything else looks great. Like seeing that. Alrighty folks, we've gone ahead and beaten back the cover for the gearbox, and let me show you what we've got here so far. Alright, so if you remember, this was curved over and all bent out of shape, and I've managed to go ahead and beat it pretty flat. You can see here, and look on the underside. We're looking pretty good in terms of flat surface area. Now, we're going to go ahead and use some Permatex sealer for the gasket, glob that back on there, because if you remember, this did look like there is a big old wrap of silicone, some sort of gasketing around it, not an actual cork gasket or anything like that that was manufactured, just simply a glob of goo running around the cover itself. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up with some brake clean. Get it all cleaned out inside. We've already hit the other side of the surface in the actual gearbox itself. And then we'll go ahead and, cleaning my hands. Then we'll go ahead and put that back on the vehicle and let that cure for probably a good 24 hours at least before we go ahead and throw our transmission fluid back in and get that filled up and ready to go. Once we do that, we're pretty much just going to be waiting on the cable to show up for the shifter linkage. There is one thing we got though. Our bag of goodies. Where is it? Aha. I did notice that there was a broken sensor up under there as well. And that was the switch for the reverse lights in the gearbox. So we've got that, $6 Motorcraft part, go figure. So we're gonna go ahead and drop that on there real quick too. And that'll be it for right now. Really quick chunk here while we wait for the other parts to go on. And yeah, I'm not sure we have a whole lot else to button up until we get our parts back in. I did go ahead and order this radiator support. That'll be in within about a week for me. I did order a new fender here as well, so that will also be in, and we'll get that primed and painted. I did of course show you the bumpers already, so we've got those to work on. This fender of course was good. And once we get this whole thing off, we'll see if there's anything else damaged on the top side here and see if we can get the whole car leveled and I'll run my laser level across and make on the frame rails and make sure I don't have anything damaged there. But a quick early check, things looked level and square, so I don't have any frame rails tweaked or anything. But I do have about a 1/2 inch drop between my two pieces of concrete here. So that is one thing I want to move before I do any final checks for anything being out of whack up here. I do still have to find the airbox, or at least the lower part of it. So that's kind of been my only other big quest. So I really don't want to pay 150 bucks off eBay for a complete unit with a sensor on it and everything else. I just want the bottom half of the box for dirt cheap. Why is that so difficult? Anyways, let's go ahead and get that cover put back on and keep moving on. Alrighty, well, I've got the cover here. I've gone ahead and clean both surfaces with brake clean, and it does say to go ahead and take the Permatex. I've got the Permatex black, run around here, nice thick slathering, and set it on, finger tight your hardware, come back in an hour, and then torque it down. So that's what we're going to do. Now the black stuff here is noted especially for oil contaminated surfaces, which this will be if it's not already slightly. Go ahead and make my little goober on here. There we go. I put a little thicker goober right in here because this is where the damage was and it was bent, and I want to account for any imperfections in my repairs, because I'm certain there are at least 1 or 5. I'm left-handed, sorry. Alright, I'm not going to punish you with me trying to find these holes blind, so we'll go ahead and get this tightened up. Come back in an hour, get her torqued up to spec, and then we'll come back after this is all dry and we're putting more stuff back on the car. Alrighty, so we've got that Permatex drawing on the cover for the gearbox there, and actually looked up the instructions on their website as well, and they actually say in that PDF that you should just go ahead, apply the gasket material, and then tighten it down and torque it right away. No need to go back a second time. So that's what I did. I just went ahead and tightened everything up. We're gonna let that dry overnight here and move on to our reverse sensor. Now this is the one that was on the vehicle, if you can see around my mess. And what this does is it's in the gearbox and engages when you put the vehicle in reverse. And there should be something back here, goes to the wiring harness, that was broken off. And this little ball on the end of it would trigger the switch. But since it's broken, it's not doing anything. So for $6, we went out and found the new Motorcraft one at our local O'Reilly. Had that delivered right to my local store within about 8 hours of ordering it, so perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and toss this one back in. It's actually a 7/8 socket, so I guess Ford is still figuring out what it wants to do for sizes. So we're gonna go ahead and screw this back in and clip it in and be good. So super easy. You can see it's already got some thread tape on it. If I can find the hole, we'll go ahead and set it in there. There we go. So our connector clips right in there. And there you go, simple as that. All right, so we're gonna wait and let that Permatex seal up here overnight, like I said, before I go ahead and do anything else down in that area. Also, we're kind of waiting for parts. So there's a mosquito. It's nearly December. Anyways, we've got tons of parts on order, so we're pretty much gonna take a hiatus on this, at least for my end. You'll see it like nothing ever happened, so. Alrighty, we have a pile of parts that have shown up over the last couple of days. We'll take a look, see what we've got. First, a good old eBay score was the airbox that I've been looking for, not wanting to spend $100 and $150 for. I found this one, I think, for about $65, $66, and it even came with the mass airflow sensor. So I'm going to put the original one out of the car back in it and keep this around as a spare just in case the other one is faulty for some reason. All it really needs is a new air filter in it, and it is a true Ford OEM part. So that is awesome. It's just going to drop right back in the car. I'll kind of show you where. All the tabs or mounting places are where they should be, so that is awesome. And it even comes with the little pipe to go back to the valve cover. So we've got a complete set here. That is excellent. Again, about 60 bucks. Now the next really important part we've been waiting for since day one really is that shift cable. Go. What else I have in here? Got the bracket for the shift cable, a true Ford part. Not cheaping out. We have the new cable as well, which also is a Ford part. There we go, going with true OE parts here with this one. All the connections are here, so this end goes into the vehicle itself, and then this clips on down to the gearbox. So we've got that to put in. Hopefully we'll get to that yet in this video, and I think that'll wrap that up. What else is in here? Bracket. Got a tweeter speaker for the door because I thought it was bad. Unfortunately, I pulled one out of the junkyard and it still doesn't seem to be working, so I'll have to do a little more troubleshooting on that. But if a $2 speaker is the biggest problem I have, then I think we're doing pretty good. Also got a clip. Looks like it was for something down by the shift stuff, so I just picked it up. I think it's to hold either the wiring for the temperature sensor or for the reverse light switch. So either way, I've got that. Also, we have our replacement cooling fan from Advanced Auto Parts. Big shout out to them and thanks for honoring the warranty. It's a standard Dorman part, but it's in one piece, so that's very important. Look, it's my biggest fan. Now we've got a large box. It's about the size of a box that a bicycle kit would come in from your Target or Sam's Club or wherever. But this is what we've been waiting for. Yeah, they tossed in a $100 wine voucher for nakedwines.com. Get $100 off any case of wine priced at $160 or more. Merry Christmas to me. Rather, Merry Christmas to my wife. She has to put up with me. All right, back to the car stuff. We have our replacement fender. Appears to be packed lovingly with care. Alrighty, next we have our front fender. That's probably one of the more exciting things because this one does not have any dents in it or crumpled up. So it is a cat. It's Oliver the shop cat. He wants to go inside. Want to go inside, bud? There you go. Now, as I was saying, this one has far less dents and tears and problems than the other one did. So this one actually is primed and ready to go, but we will, of course, test fit it, scuff it, and everything before we shoot it. And that'll be exciting to have done. And one more issue taken care of. I'm going to put this back in the box for now because I don't want to dent it. Alrighty, our last item for right now should be the radiator support. That's what it looks like. All right, I have a knife, which isn't helping. There we go. There we go. Yeah. There's a hole in the side of the bag I could have used. All right, this here is our new unbroken radiator support, core support, whatever you want to call it. And that'll be a task to get that on as well. So in order to get that radiator support on, we've got to take off our crash bar, remove this front rail here, the airbag sensors, a bunch of stuff over here, the hood latch, all this good stuff. And hopefully I can get it out and replaced without having to pull out the radiator and condenser. That'd be awesome because A, I don't want a giant mess of coolant on the floor, and I don't want to have to deal with evacuating and recharging an air conditioning system because I do not have that equipment on hand. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and dig into the interior, take apart the shift console, and look at getting that old cable out and getting the new cable in, because that's really what's preventing us from being able to drive this right now. I do have the gearbox drain open, and that is going to get flushed out, and I've got 2 quarts of new fluid to put in it. So we're just kind of working through the list of all the different things that we can go through on this. It helps that the car came with the 2 quarts of fluid with it. So for now, yeah, we're just going to take a look at getting that shift linkage out and the new non-broken stuff put in, and we'll take a look at how they look. Alrighty, we're going to start out on the passenger side just because that's where I've got lighting for you to better see. But to start out, we've got some little buttons to remove and some trim pieces for the console before we can get actually inside. So first we have on each side these little buttons. They have a Phillips head on them. They're not really screw in, but if you hold one of your trim tools behind it, it'll help get that clip out. And you see the button actually just looks like a Phillips, but it just pushes in and out. Got a couple of loose threads on top, but nothing too much to that. On the back of this, I read that this whole section has to come out. This and here, and this comes out, your shifter pops off, and this trim for around the heating controls comes off. I found a handful of different things online, articles and videos that showed bits and parts of how you take this off, but I'm intending to show you the end-to-end deal so you're not having to do what I did and scour out 5 or 6 different locations online. Also, back here, there are 2 7mm bolts between the seats, so you have to move the seats all the way forward in order to get them out or access them. So don't forget about that. We should be able to start prying this piece off here if we get under it. Pretty easy, just like that. Work our way around. Same thing on the driver's side. There we go. Now this piece has to come off as well. This trim piece has to get popped off as well. So I want to be careful we don't pry too hard and crack things. Especially if you're in a colder climate and don't have access to a heated garage, I would suggest finding a friend with a heated garage. This plastic will become brittle when it's cold and break. There we go, that was pretty easy. I guess currently our shifter doesn't do anything because the linkage isn't connected. So anyways, we're in neutral now. We'll go back into 4th, or not, 3rd, neutral, 4th. All right, this here, unscrew our cap. This boot should lift right off. Now in here we have a couple more bolts, probably 7s or 8s. We'll go check that out. But this whole, well, let's see. Let's see what else has to come off. I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this piece off first here. Maybe I don't need to take this entire center console off. All right, these here are 8mm. All right, now this should be able to get popped off. Yep, it does appear that this all needs to come off, so you guys are gonna get moved. All right, so looks like all this center stuff has to come out. Clip, clip, clip. There we go, snake him out. There is a connector down here for the cigarette lighter and auxiliary input, but at least now that I have this all removed, I can take it inside and clean it up. These side panels come off. There's all sorts of good stuff down here. You know, maybe I do not need to fully remove this, but we're going to anyways just so we have more space to work. All right, I've got the one electrical connection right here that is pinned in. Once we remove this, the center console can come out all the way, and we'll have access in there because in addition to the two connectors for the shift linkage, there is a plate with a pair of bolts down in here that we have to access as well, and then go through the firewall. All right, folks, here's the fun part. Now that we've gotten this front console off, I've got these two to take off, which can be done with a couple of straight blade screwdrivers, and I'll show you how that's done. But those cables snake down under the heater controls here, back here, and somewhere else. Now, can we see? Oh, look, there it is right there. Let's see. There it is, you can see there's the brake lines right here, and then right below it are those two cables right there. Those are the shifter cables, and they're right there, those two guys. I need to figure out how much stuff I have to take off to get to those, and I will figure that out and not drag you through that probably boring process. But really, I've got to do this while I have the airbox out, while I have the whole rest of the front of the car off, because it's going to be a whole lot easier to access everything. So you can see, with the airbox gone, which sits right here, I have direct access down to where those cables connect. And if I didn't have, or if I did have all the stuff, I wouldn't be able to get access to from the top of it. But I'm guessing, you know, I don't even know. So, like I said, here's the new cable. And my thought is this is the side that goes down to the gearbox outside the cabin. And this is the one inside based off the connectors. So I'm guessing that's going to mount up on the firewall. So I have to dig and find that. And I'm guessing I'm going to have to take quite a bit more of the interior part of that center console and dash to get at those bolts, much less get the old cables fed out and the new ones in. So let me figure that out and we'll pick up there. I was of the impression by what I had found online that all of the center console crap has to come out and that your heater box down here has to come out, because down way in there is the plate with those couple of bolts that come out, and then everything slides this way out of the engine bay. Upon further investigation, I need to crawl under the car, take off what's probably going to be a pair of rusty nuts, and then that plate can come out. So I pretty much spent 2.5 hours trying to get all these stupid bolts out, especially for the airbox. You can see that little pile down there. And if you notice, what looks like a giant pile of dirt where it once was a clean floor mat, that was the cabin air filter. Now, I can see why they're often neglected, but come on. I started pulling and it just kept coming out in chunks and dirt. And yeah. So whoever is lucky enough to acquire this wonderful thing from me will be assured there is a brand new cabin air filter inside, and they will not have to go through the torture of trying to do that themselves or take it to a shop and inflict that torture on somebody else. So now I'm going to go crawl under that thing. Where is it? It's over there. I'm going to go crawl under that thing, and maybe it'll fall on me because I don't have a lift. I have jack stands that probably aren't from Harbor Freight. All right, well, that completely sucked. There are literally 2 nuts to take off to get the plate for the shifter cable off. These 2 guys right here. Unfortunately, where they reside is on the hump where the exhaust comes down from the engine. So unless you want to drop the exhaust and the heat shield, which I'm sure for a 10-year-old car is going to result in bad times and busted studs, you have no choice but to snake your hand up there with a 10 mil and spend, I don't know, 3 hours cursing and being frustrated at why it's such a difficult task? Right. So in reality, I could have taken a shortcut, and I'll show you later on here. But on the linkage that goes into the gearbox, there's a connection where one of these guys just snaps onto a little ball. Well, that ball was broken. I could have instead just drilled through and put a pin in here and called it good. But no, that's not the right way to do it. I'm going to spend my time laboriously digging in the bowels of this car to get the part off and do it the right way. So, now that I've ripped the inside of the car apart, I guess only finding that filter that needed to be replaced, I can start to put some of it back together, but I want to make sure I can get this silly cable out of here first. Oh, where's my flashlight? Because we're going to need that. Now, down under here, you really can't see it. I'm going to see if I can point the flashlight at it. Down here is where that plate is. So you can see it's not tough to get to, and I thought I could get to it by taking off the bottom half of the heater box here. That did not work. So that was another hour and a half of fail. Let's just see if I can get my screwdriver down here and pop this up at all. May have to go over to the passenger side. There's 2 tabs that you need to pop up to get this thing loose, and I did that on the passenger side. Okay, I got the plate loose down there, I think. So I'm gonna have to work that off camera because you just can't see it. But just know that was a horrible thing to do, to get 2 nuts off. So Ford, shame on you guys. That was horrible. Yeah. I mean, heck, even if you brought it into a shop, the tech is going to spend an hour pulling off the exhaust. So there's 120 bucks. It's going to pull apart half the console here. So that's going to be another 100 bucks. He's going to have to spend an hour drilling or tapping or replacing the studs on your exhaust, or have you just replace the entire exhaust. So $120 to $700, who knows? So this could easily end up being a $1,000 job if you want somewhere for a shop, either an indie or a dealer, plus the part. So yeah, this is kind of crappy. But as long as I'm here, let's try and get these off. And from what I understand, again, there's a ball on here, and this just slides over and clips to the ball. But you need to take 2 screwdrivers and sort of work them in and twist them, and it should pop up pretty easily. There's one. Then the other one over here. There we go. Just, you don't have to wrench on it. It's just pressure, and it'll eventually come out. And then these guys here should just pop out pretty easily. At this part, I've kind of gotten to stop asking nicely. So we'll bring out the bigger bar. And try not to break that. There we go. All right, now these are all loose. And in theory, I should be able to get that plate popped up and pull everything out this way into the car, including all the dirty cables. I'd like to just cut them off since they're useless to me, but these are not going to pull or cut off easily, so I'll probably just be difficult and pull them all the way out, just being careful of any grease and crap on the ones coming out of the engine side. So I'm going to work on that. I know how it comes out. It's just going to take me a while to get it out. So that plate on the firewall here needs to come up and into the cab, and then all the cables should follow with it. And fortunately, since the cables on the engine are already broken off, I don't have to remove them. We've got our shifter here. Yep. Okay. Holy crap. I don't know how many hours it took me to get this stupid thing out, but it was a lot. Ugh. Now I got to put it back together. Anyways, we got the horrible cable out. Yeah, it is not fun. I may wish this on a few of my enemies, but not many of them, because it was not really fun to do. Let me show you. Also a tip, don't buy a black flashlight because you'll lose it everywhere. Buy a hot pink one or something, because I've lost this thing 4 or 5 times a day since I bought it. So, under here is where that cable or cables go. There's a little hole about the size of a cigarette pack that the cables snake up through, and a little fitting to keep a closed seal between the firewall, whatever, toe board here and the outside of the world. So once you've loosened the 2 nuts under here from the bottom side of the car, above the exhaust and the heat shield, you have to push it up into the car, which is no fun feat to begin with, because in addition to the couple of nuts on the assembly, you have these 2 little tabs that push out and lock it in place as well. So pretty much I bent these backwards and shoved it up through with a big pry bar. But you also have to snake it through all of this mess here and back down behind the engine between the firewall. Now it does nicely poke out so you can get to it, but there's a little clip that you can't even see because it's buried so far back there that you have to pull the 2 cables out from, and then those are loose. Disconnect them from the linkage if yours happen to still be attached, and then with a bunch of choice words, it hopefully will come out for you. Getting to the part was the most challenging thing. It is not easy to get to, but once you get those two nuts off, it's still a pain. That's about the nicest thing I can say. It's not an easy job. It's not hard. It's not technical. It just takes a lot of creativity to get to where you need to be. I used a combination of a 1/4 inch 10 mil socket, a open end wrench, my fingers, screwdrivers, pry bars, and of course now that the inside of the console is all torn apart, I get to deal with putting that back together, which that's fine. It had to be done anyways, mainly because you saw that air filter. But being today is my anniversary, I'm going to cut this off and we'll come back in the next episode where we're actually putting this thing back together, and hopefully that'll go a little smoother and I won't be as grabby about it. And we can finally start reassembling the car. Now, this cable was pretty much the key thing wrong with the car that kept it from being drivable. Sure, we could have left all the other body parts, got a junkyard fender, slapped it on with that red color. We could have replaced the fender, left it primer black, whatever. We could have left this back fender as is. It looks bad, but it drives. But that shift cable, yeah, that was really the primary thing from being able to drive the car. The broken airbox, that sucked, but the air filter was still in there, mass airflow sensor was still there. The front plastics, yep, they should be done, but did it prohibit the car from being driven? No. Was it still safe to drive? Yeah, as long as no more parts fell off. So really now we can just start reassembling stuff and getting this thing back roadworthy. So that's what we're going to bring in the next episode. That'll be part 5. Because part 4 is going to be working on some of this body stuff here and getting that tidied up. But I hope you have liked this video and it's been informational. If nothing more than to say, oh, I really don't want to do that by myself. Having a friend may have helped. Having a lift may have helped. Paying somebody else to do it certainly would have helped. Not your checkbook, but your timeline and sanity. So until the next video, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please do. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, so when part 5 comes out, you will see it. Thanks, and see you again soon. Bye-bye.